What's up, everyone, and welcome back to another Star Wars News Roundup. It was another slow week, but I'm really just using this video as an excuse to rant and rave about the movie Extraction, because our top story is that Sam Hargrave is said to be one of the directors for the Book of Boba Fett. If you don't know who he is, he's mostly known as a stunt coordinator. He worked on Avengers Endgame, lots of MCU stuff, Atomic Blonde. But he was also a second unit director for The Mandalorian Season 2, as well as Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. I had never seen his big movie, his directorial debut, Extraction. It came out on Netflix last year, and I saw people talking about how good it was because of the Book of Boba Fett, and I was like, I should check that out. And I'm so glad I did. It was awesome.
I watched part of it, and there was a lot of blood and gunshots, and I got bored and left. It
is absolutely, it reminded me kind of of Taken. Mm-hmm. It's a very straightforward action movie. The characters weren't the best, the writing wasn't amazing or anything, but I don't know, the direction just really elevated it. It took a story that could have been just very base and boring, and I thought it kicked it up to 11. The camera work was insane. There's a lot of one-shots for fights and stuff, and it reminded me a lot of Robert Rodriguez's episode, The Tragedy.
Sounds like they'll be a good fit together.
Yeah, I was watching it, and except for the fact that it was crazy over the top violent, which Star Wars won't be, I was just like, this feels right. It feels like The Tragedy, where, again, The Tragedy is a pretty straightforward story, but I feel like Rodriguez's direction bumped it up a notch and really elevated it and made it so exciting.
Yeah, I feel like if what I had seen were of characters that I had more interest in, I would have thought that it was really cool. But I didn't start it from the beginning.
You came in near the end as well.
I came in... Someone was covered in blood, and I was like, what is this?
I think there's this one segment where, it's also a very, Mandalorian-esque story, where, this hardened mercenary has a job, and he has to, get this kid from point A to point B, and then he starts to care about the kid.
Mm-hmm. It's
very Mandalorian in that sense, but when they are, first on the run, there's this one shot that I was just it took my breath away, where they're in a car and they're reversing and the camera's outside the car kind of chasing them around, and then they do a U-turn, and then the camera goes into the car and then it just takes off into a long car chase. And I mean, it's a trick where it's I know how they did it. There was someone lying down on the car and he just picked up and took the camera, but it was so effective and so cool. It's hard to describe.
So what you're saying is, to get really hyped for Book of Boba Fett, watch this movie and pretend like it's Star Wars characters.
Yeah, kinda. Pretend it's not nearly as violent and bloody.
Yeah.
But also, it's I can see Boba Fett acting this way.
He's pretty violent.
I mean, in The Tragedy, he's got some rage behind those eyes.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I really, really liked Extraction. I do think it's a good way to get hyped for the Book of Boba Fett, because Sam Hargrave, I'm excited to see what you do. I thought you did a great job on Extraction. But let's move on to our second story, which is also about the Book of Boba Fett. Cinematographer Dean Cundey was reported to have worked on the Book of Boba Fett as well by the magazine American Cinematographer. He's most known for films like Jurassic Park and The Thing and Back to the Future. Lots of great stuff.
Terrible movies. Oh. Just overrated. Kidding.
You're just trying to push my buttons. All movies that I adore. But people were pointing out online that it's he's got a very creature-heavy background, which that's also kind of tantalizing to be okay, we might have a lot of animatronics and crazy prosthetics and stuff.
I want to see a resurgence of creatures in Jabba's palace, or that would be the perfect place for it. But also, speaking of the huts, this would be a great place to see a hut.
And do you think, I totally agree. So if there's a hut, I think we've discussed this before, but if there's a hut, do you think it'll be practical or CG?
I think it'll be a mixture of both.
Yeah, that's true. But you don't think they'll go the full, like, Jabba the Hutt in the special edition or in the Phantom Menace?
No, I don't. I hope not. I don't know. It depends, because if it sounds like this person is, his speciality is doing practical creature effects. So I don't know. Like in Rise of Skywalker, they did the Vexus snake all practical, and then they went totally over it and made it all CG for the final product. So I don't know. It just depends on the director's view for that particular episode.
And how well the puppet works. But yeah, I guess, and this is us just speculating on one line in a magazine that this person is involved. But yeah, to me, I want to see a bunch of practical crazy creatures. Like,
oh, yeah.
I hadn't even thought about, if he's like holding court in Jabba's palace, that's perfect. But also, we might get some flashbacks to the Sarlacc pit.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff like that.
A nice big practical Sarlacc would be awesome.
Maybe there's an entire set that's just inside the Sarlacc's stomach.
Ooh. That would be like in Battlestar when Starbuck flies the Cylon ship and she's got to figure out all the weird stuff inside. Yeah.
I just had a thought, and I was on the fence about whether or not we'd even cover this, just because I don't know a whole lot about the YouTuber Shimuk, the guy that does deep fakes, and he touched up like Tarkin and Leia and Luke in The Mandalorian Season 2, and he works for Lucasfilm now. They hired him, which I think is great, and we were kind of speculating like, oh, well, who could he be working on? Maybe that means Luke will show up again, or maybe it's Indiana Jones 5, but if we're doing flashbacks for Boba Fett, maybe he's going to be working on that.
Yeah, that'd be really cool to see a quick flashback involving Luke, or I guess or any of the characters really. But if he's already got experience making Luke look even better than they did.
No, I mean maybe he'll de-age Boba Fett.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like that particular scene on the sail barge. Like, if we see a flashback and Luke happens to be there.
I hadn't considered that, but now I'm just thinking of dumb jokes of like, we get the whole thing from Boba Fett's perspective and like inside the helmet and watching him fly into the sail barge, but he could see Luke as he goes by, and he could see that shot where Luke kicks a dude in the face but completely misses. Mm-hmm. Like, did he even kick that guy? Slam! Dumb jokes, but I don't know. I mean, like, Shimuk could be working on any of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, a person of his talents, he could be... It doesn't mean specifically he's going to be working on Luke or Tarkin or Leia. It could be CG on some of these creatures that we might be talking about. So.
I'm sure he's got his hands on a lot of projects, just whatever needs the deep fake technology. Mm-hmm. I don't really know much about how all that works, but I do think it's cool that he's getting to now work on this stuff officially.
Just try to get him on an episode of Com Chatter.
Oh, yeah, just explain everything to me. How does any of this work? And the last thing we'll talk about is kind of following up on our discussion last week about the casting for Ezra and Grand Admiral Thrawn. Rosario Dawson shared on her Instagram stories a post about exactly that and was basically like, best news ever, which to me feels like a confirmation.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't her being like, yay, this has been confirmed, I'm working with these people. It sounded like she was like, yay, I'm looking forward to this happening. So I she probably knows. I took it
as a confirmation. I took it as her being like, yay, I'm glad I can talk about this now.
Yeah, well, maybe.
Like, I don't think she would have shared anything at all if it weren't true.
Do you think that they're, like, working on stuff now?
Probably, yeah.
For Ahsoka?
I don't know that they're shooting, but I mean, they might be doing table reads, and I'm sure they're in pre-production.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I don't know how all this stuff works, but this all feels to me like when we were hearing rumors of Rosario Dawson and Timothy Olyphant. I don't know, something about this surrounding Mina and Lars Mikkelsen, like, it just feels true.
Yeah.
So it's not 100% confirmation. I wouldn't say it is until Lucasfilm says something officially, but I think it's probably true.
Probably.
But that's all we have for news this week, so if you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitch.
And consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.